It's been a long journey since last year, and it started with the course Know This First, which was a sort of preparatory course. Went through AI 1, AI 2, AI 3, AI 4, Data Science 1, Data Science 2, and finally culminated in the course that Pavlos and Shrivas ran, which is AI 5, which brought all of this together, in which you actually had to write a real world application, deploy the real world application. So not only had you to do all the science, you had to do all the engineering, you had to do all the deployment, all the ops, everything required, so that when you go out into the world, you are a fully formed individual. There's going to be multiple presentations from AI5, so you get an idea of, quite frankly, the caliber and quality of our students, which I'm extremely happy to say is super high.
So I'll just go hand over to the first team, group one, which is RT.
Good morning, good evening to everyone here. It's extremely nice to see all the bunch of students, professionals, and friends that we have gathered here today. We're group one, and the project that we've chosen to do is RT. The web app name is called RT, and it's basically a visual captioning model for images and artwork. Now, just to start off, how would you describe this picture? Well, it's a painting of mountains and trees, and it almost seems like there's a farm field over there. Clearly, there's a subjective interpretation of artwork that exists. Not everyone perceives art the same way. And this is exactly what prompted us to think of our problem statement being, can subjectivity, such as emotions, be maintained while captioning artwork specifically? And the reason why we thought this was important to do is also in terms of the next level intelligence for machine learning would be to really get into the human aspects of emotions and etc. etc. And we were wondering how this could look like for a model trying to perceive something so human such as art. So this is a first look of our app. As you can see, it's arty. We've just played around with it, making some cool features. So when you come over here, you could choose a file, choose any image that you want and upload it. And what our particular app does is that it starts generating the captions for it. So over here, we've put an overview of all the three models for the audience's view. And at the end, it also shows emotion. So as you can see, our baseline model, the first one that's been trained on photographs and real life images, was able to say a man is standing on top of a mountaintop with this painting. Whereas the attention model that was trained on the actual artwork per se is more or less sort of giving a right answer saying that the mountain is amazing. Now the SAT speaker will take time to give the caption. However, we do have some demos already present for you all to see. So as you can see over here, this is a really beautiful artwork of a bamboo forest, I believe. This is what the model that was trained on Flickr and Coco data set says. A man is sitting on a tree. Whereas the baseline trained on the artwork says the tree looks like a beautiful spring day. And the best of all would be the SAT speaker that said the trees are tall and the leaves are blowing in the wind. And the emotion predicted was awe, which I think is very appropriate. Over here, it's a very famous painting called Creation of Adam. And I think this is really nice because the SAT speaker says the man is reaching for his sins to the heavens, which is quite poetic in its own way. The second one is very interesting, where it says the man in the painting is detailed and the man is holding a baby. Similarly, the emotion predicted over here is awe.
The man is reaching for his sins to the heavens.
And we also have that. And maybe one more example to provide over here would be a real life image. So over here, we've provided a zebra. And as for logic, as you can see, the first baseline model was trained on photographs and real images, and it's able to give a good answer saying a zebra standing in the grass. But what's even more intriguing is the SAT speaker that was trained on artwork alone is able to still produce a sort of emotive response saying the green and the yellow colors are very soothing. And the emotion predict it is contentment, which we found very interesting because the zebra is feeding on grass, and when people feed, like when they eat, they are content, and it's able to somehow, I guess, poetically pick that up. If I go over to our first app, this thing has come, and as you can see, the SAT speaker has said the mountains in the background are beautiful and the sky is so beautiful, and I think that is appropriate in a way.
So the second group is visual question answering by Padmaja and group.
Good evening, everyone. We are Manisha, Padmaja, Janvi, and Harshita presenting to you Video, an app that helps transform the visual world into an audible experience. Our aim for this project was to build an intelligent camera app which provides info about who and what is around you, which is particularly useful for a person with visual impairment. So, what if you had a camera app which you could just hold up your phones, ask a question, and hear information about the world around you, just like asking a friend?
So now it's time for the demo. This is our WinNet app. So as mentioned before, we have integrated it with the VLT model for getting the answers, because that is the best performing model for us. And this app also supports speech to text as well as text to speech. So now let's see how to use this app. So first of all, the user can either take a picture or upload an image. So let me upload an image. Yeah, then the user can either ask a question or type in the question. So let me ask a question here. How many animals are in this image? Yeah, let's see what our model will predict.
Answer is 3.
I hope you guys were able to hear the answer. So the model was able to predict that there are 3 animals in this image, and the previous results will be stored here. Let's try out a different image now. Here I have uploaded a snowman image. Let me ask a question. Which festival is this? Yeah. I hope our model be able to say that it's Christmas, not snowman. Let's see.
Answer is Christmas.
Awesome. So yeah, so one final image I want to upload. I want you also to answer what that image is, and let's see who answers it right. Yeah. So let me ask a question. What is this? Okay. Let me submit and see what our model says.
Answer is statue.
Okay, I hope everyone knew the answer. It was Kim Kardashian, but unfortunately, our model was not able to say it's Kim Kardashian. I think our model was not able to keep up with the Kardashians. Yeah. Anyway, so continuing with the presentation, Padmaja will continue with the results and conclusion.
So to conclude this, I'd say that we can do much better with respect to fine-tuning our models further onto a more realistic data set. And instead of using artificially generated VQA data set, we can use more realistic and real-world scenarios. And we can personalize our app further to recognize more context-specific scenarios. So yeah, definitely we'll have to subscribe to the paid version to get the personalized content. That's a different story. But yeah, we can make it happen. So we can actually train our model to read the documents also and answer the question related to the documents, because we tend to do a lot of day-to-day activities involve a lot of documentation tasks. So this would help the visually impaired people in a drastically huge manner.
Group number 3 is Perception AI. Go ahead.
Good morning and good evening, everyone present here. I am Anshika, along with Harshvardhan, Meghna, and Vishnu, to present our end of course AI5 project, Perception.ai, where we deployed the text to image generative model. The task at hand for our project was to take a textual description, that is an image caption, and to give out an RGB image. In artificial intelligence, there is a massive problem of class imbalance. And with Perception.ai, we will be able to generate images of rare classes which otherwise occur infrequently or maybe not at all. For example, the nucleus dataset for pathology slides of skin cancer. The ratio of the rarest class to the most prominent class is 1:12,250. The other application of Perception.ai may be the MOSMED dataset, which contains the human lung CT scans with COVID-19 related findings. Here we have 5 classes, and we can see the classes are highly imbalanced.
Yeah, so let's get into our working part of the model. So let's get into our demo. All right, so this is how our interface looks like. So we can type out our input and click the generate button to generate an image. Let's say a white bird with red wings. All right. So it takes the text and generates an image for us. So let's see what our model perceives. Okay. So when we say word white, this is where the model is looking into. Okay, so let's try a fun one. Just say a puffy bird, maybe. Okay, let's see like what our model comes up with. All right, looks cute. So let's see like what it perceives. Yeah, the word puffy. It's looking into the horizontal dimension. So future work. So we want to create an API service where one can upload image and captions data to train the generative model remotely. And we would like to extend this idea of generating images to generating like 3-dimensional images and videos using GANs. Such architectures can be useful in forecasting applications like weather prediction, autonomous driving, etc. So that's all for our presentation, and thanks for being a wonderful audience. Thank you.
Next, we have group 4 on good manufacturing practices. It's a real industry use case.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for this opportunity. So the project that we've got is a real life example or an application, which is using an AI model to predict how many people are there within a GMP facility. And I'll explain this as we go on, the practical application of this. Now, if you just quickly go through the slide, right? So there are, amongst the top 5 reasons why products are recalled by FDA from 2009 to 2017, you would see, bacterial contamination, which is a form of bioburden, is one of them. Once a bioburden or, once a facility is contaminated, you have to stop your production, and its impact can be both financial and from a timeline perspective, right? So as a consequence, the bioburden testing market is a huge market. It itself is a $1 billion market. And it's growing at about 12-13% year on year.
So if I go to our existing setup, so this is our existing setup. For example, this is our drug manufacturing block, and there are some rooms where your maximum number of people allowed is only 1. You cannot have more than 1 people. The second means there are some other rooms which are larger rooms which can accommodate more than 1 people. It's not like about accommodation, but if it is more than 1 or 2, it can lead to bioburden excursion. So that's why we have these stickers pasted on the rooms, means at the entry of the rooms, to just notify the people who is entering that there should not be more than 1, 2, 3 or 10 people. Now facility head is actually helpless. Even if there is a violation which is reported, there is no automatic measures to control it. So our proposed AI based solution is we'll have a backend AI engine which will be detecting the persons and then counting the persons and reporting the violations, and then those violations and even the person counting system will also display a dynamic count of the people who is inside that particular room, so that person who is entering the room is already aware that there are already 10 people inside the room and he should not enter, or he should wait for somebody to go out. So that dynamic headcount display is something which we are planning to implement here at the entry, so that the operator will be conscious before entering the clean room. This is the main report which comes out of it, which is the clean room occupancy report for that particular room. So whenever there is more than 2 people, when it reaches 3 and more, 4 or something, you will have that excursion, and this report will have a red kind of lining here. So if you see here in this particular video clip or in a particular day, you will have this many excursions and this many green areas where there is no excursion, it was within the limit. If you want to digress into the issue, then we are storing violation video clips which are 10 seconds before the violation and 10 seconds after the violation. And also we are having violation images also, which we have boxed it with the persons, the number of persons, and then we have shown on the top that what is the number of persons we have detected. For example, here you can see that violation alert and persons detected is 4. There's one more report which has some sort of violations. For example, at 44 seconds there's a violation and you are having a video clip and image for it, and you are having the number of persons violated and boxed around it. And we have actually inverted the colors here to show that it's a violation. So actually it's a blue color floor and we have made it yellow, and it's a blue color person, but we have made it yellow to just show that it's a violation. I'll just show you one live streaming which we are doing now. Folders where we are having the room footages coming in, and for example I have started for the PLC room, and here in the detections folder we'll have multiple folders like occupancy trend, violated video, and violations. So in violations, if you see now, so you'll have these images, violated images with stamping of like how many people were present and what is the timestamp, like 151 second it is showing here. And in the actual video streaming, it will be timestamped with the date and time. Show you the actual boundary boxes and the persons detected. And similarly, we'll have in the detections violated video, where we will having violated videos of that particular rooms 10 seconds before and 10 seconds after the violations, which are getting populated. If you see, like now only it is detected and it has started like storing it here. It's 643, 640. It's going on now. And here in the another feature is occupancy trend. So in occupancy trend, you will have the images of each room occupancy. So for example, this is the PLC room occupancy, which we have recently done.
This is Thank you, guys. Yes, let's move, as you guys said, to the next last group.
Is the Homeless Pet Network. There you go.
Okay, so we are Team Cookie Monster and we'll be presenting Homeless Pet Network. The problem we're trying to solve is to help future dog owners find a dog who is a good fit for their lifestyle and family environment. It is an app to connect with dogs available for adoption. We offer various features like search based on features, similar dogs by uploading a picture, and a chatbot to talk with persona of the dog. Overall, it's a place to meet and talk to prospective future pets. Hence, we also like to call it as Tinder for pets.
Okay, let's start the demo part here. Okay, let's start the fun part. Okay, so this is the app, we have deployed it. So you can see like we have deployed it in a Kubernetes cluster. Also, we deployed it as a standalone. The standalone is like a high performance cluster to make that like to get a quick images quickly. So yeah, we have a number of features here. One like search docs, image search, and like as a page loaded, like we have like 50 pages load. And if you want to load more images, yes, we can click on it and we will have further images loaded on it. So we can go further. So in the search feature, we are like enabling like type by breed like shepherd. I can get the images similar to like whatever the search matches. So if I am searching like shepherd, and if I want to search by the color, okay, if I'm typing by black, I'm getting number of images. So let's click on one of the image and we will see like how it performs. Okay, so this is like the image like which we are interested, a dog image. So it shows the general information and description about the dog, and we will find similar dogs. Like it will be uses embedding such matchings, and based on that we will get all the similar dogs within it. And let's go and check the other feature we have it. The other feature we have it is like image search. So in this, like we can choose an image. So here I'm choosing an image like given by one of our team member of his dog. So this is the dog, and I want to find the similar dogs within it. So yeah, these are the quick features, like we have got it, like similar dogs we have got it. And if I want to do a chat with that dog, I have a chat bot with it, and let's do a quick demo on like what are the things we are doing with it. Hey, what's your name? Yeah, I can ask all the descriptions about it. So we use GPT-2 here to get the information and ask. So what do you like? Okay, so yeah, that's wrapping up of our demo. So our future work, yeah, we want to make the site alive and keep it alive also. So that's we are focusing on, and maybe like we are focusing on implementing a microservices architecture for whatever we have done. So we have like 2 images at this point, but we want to increase it. So to basically split the load.
So let's go to the students. We're extremely proud of you. I think we all can say that. At the beginning of the program, I said, I don't know if you remember, I said learning takes 2. We're going to provide the material, we're going to be there for you, but you have to take ownership of your learning, and I think you guys took it to the heart. I mean, it's been a year. You remember pretty much every week there was some assignment. This was happening while you're student, working, and try to remember where we started, right? In AI1, first few weeks, I could see your faces all very super excited. After week 3, you said, oh my God, this guy's gonna drive us nuts. It was intense. You have to remember, we have quizzes, we have exercise, we have homeworks, we have projects, we have the forum. It was continuously giving you stuff, which we call learning opportunities, and you guys took advantage of that. And again, I'm proud of you. So then we went to AI2, which we learned the cool things about computer vision, which all of you use today. Then we pass you on to Rahul, the fire hose, with all the practical data science things you need, the real things, for 2 courses. Then we came back and we did the language model, again you use a lot, and the generating models, which you use a lot. And we did a little bit of reinforcement learning just to complete the thing. And then the final course, which we call AI5, which you put everything together. I think you should feel proud. I've been teaching at the various places. I think you're as good or as anybody else I've seen, and I've seen students from all institutions, so I think you should be proud. And I think you're ready for your next steps. As I said many times, learning doesn't stop. We're still learning. Myself, Rahul, Shivas, we're all learning. We never stop learning. You're never gonna stop learning. Remember that. It's just now I think you're at the position that you may not need to take many more courses. You can learn by yourself the same way Rahul and I and Raghu and Shivas, we need to learn something, we learn it by ourselves. So I'm proud. Congratulations. You completed the journey, and I think you're ready for anything you want. Either go to get a job or continue as a graduate student, or God forbid, stay and teach.